To shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to have with us over the phone our dear guest, Dr. Monica William, a researcher of international relations. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Dr. William, how did you follow the reaction by Egypt and its stance concerning the complete rejection of the recognition of Israel to the Somali land, and especially with the efforts exerted by Foreign Minister Badr Abdel Ati?
Of course, if we try to assess what happened first, we have to focus on that Israeli recognition of Somaliland as a sovereign and independent entity mark a significant geopolitical shift in the Horn of Africa and Red Sea region, which is very important and critical region for Egypt. This move has triggered strong reaction from regional actors, as you mentioned, African Union, most notably Eritrea, which described the recognition as threatening regional security and called for intervention by the UN Security Council beyond its thematic dimension. This recognition carries strategic implications that could republic power balance and shift dynamics in the region, intensify the conflict between the power of regional power and potentially act as a catalyst for a renewed conflict between Ethiopia and Eritrea, and it's very important, of course. If we try to focus on Egypt reaction on this issue, of course, Egypt, as you mentioned, firm objective to Israeli reported recognition was very clear by Foreign Minister Ambassador Badr Abdel Ati, which is reflect Egypt's deep concern over the implication for this step for African stability and Red Sea security and established principle of international law. So Egypt views this move not on isolated diplomatic gesture, it's as destabilizing the region that strengthens regional order and directly intersects with its core national security interests. And of course, Egypt also opposes any unilateral recognition, as you specifically mentioned, of this entity. And if we try to focus on Egypt's reasons for this action, of course, it's driven by strategic consideration related, as we mentioned earlier, the Red Sea and Bab el-Mandeb security, and Cairo regards that Red Sea is an invisible strategic threat where any new military or intelligent footholds, especially which led to extra or outside regional conflicts, would disrupt the balance of power in this region. And of course, from Egypt's perspective, Israeli engagement with Somaliland risks militarizing the Horn of Africa and to transform it into an extension of Middle East confirmation zones, such as development directly affect freedom of navigation, energy flows, and Egypt's economic lifelines, including the Suez Canal, of course.
Yes, Dr. William, also Foreign Minister Badr Abdel Ati, as he held a virtual ministerial meeting of the African Union's Peace and Security Council, called on the Council to hold an emergency meeting to reiterate Somalia's unity and the rejection of the unilateral stance or Israeli measures. Also, the Arab League have held an emergency meeting also to condemn and denounce the Israeli step that has been taken by the recognition. Also, a number of Arab countries also expressed their complete rejection of this stance by Israel. How did you read this?
Of course, Arab and Islamic reaction to the Israeli move have largely been characterized as rejection and condemnation, reflect deep concern over the step and this decision out of fears of external manipulation of fragile African states and erosion of territorial integrity across the continent. Practically, it raises alarms about the security of Africa, geopolitics, and the spillover of Middle Eastern conflicts into the Horn of Africa. The response also highlights the distance between United States and Israeli, and it's very important. While the United States remain committed to Somali territorial unity, Israeli unilateral posture underscore a growing tendency to act independently, even when such action comments a broader Western strategy in Africa. So, if we try to focus also on the AU or African Union as a key diplomatic platform to articulate Cairo and the African states' firm rejection of any unilateral recognition, and how to affirm the Egypt's broader vision for stability in the Horn of Africa. The meeting it's not procedure one; it reflects a solid step and a solid effort from Egypt and from the African Union to internationalize its concerns within the African institutional framework and to prevent the normalization of external interference in sensitive African files.
Yes. Dr. William, what are the dangers of the Israeli recognition to Somaliland on the African stability?
Of course, if we try to answer on this question, let's with the why Somalia first and how this move carry a clear political message. Israel seeks to assert its sovereign right to recognize political entities unitarily and reinforce its self-image as a emerging actor rather than a constrained regional state. This approach not unprecedented in foreign policy of Israel. It's not the first one or first time for Israel to do it. Israel has historically used recognition and non-recognition as tools to reshape political realities on the ground. In this sense, Somaliland become a case study in African politics. The timing, if we try to tackle with that in terms of timing and substance, the Israeli move reflects two central dynamics. First, it continues with highlight regional tension following the Gaza war, during which Israel has sought to expand a geographic scope of deterrence and signal strategic depth beyond its immediate neighborhood. Second, it comes amid escalation conflicts with non-state actors, particularly the Houthi in Yemen, whose actions in the Red Sea have directly threatened Israel and Western maritime interests. So in this context, Somaliland offers Israel a potential buffer zone, if we try to say it, and indirect front to counter Houthi influence. And of course, if we try to, another key driver behind the Israeli move is the containment of Turkish influence in both Somalia and the wider Horn of Africa. So Turkey expanding presence through military bases or economic investment and political alliances has increasingly been perceived in or realized in Israel as a strategic challenge. So by engaging with Somaliland, Israel seeks to establish a counterweight to Turkish penetration or extending a pattern already visible in Syria and Eastern Mediterranean into East Africa.
Yes. Also, what is the effect of this stance by Israel in the recognition of Somaliland on the international level?
Sorry?
The effect of this on the international level.
Of course, as we stand that Israel maintains a strong relation with Ethiopia and has cooperated with Eritrea. Both options carry a structural limitation. So on the international level, Israel recognition depends on Somaliland isolation with Somalia deputy and the key regional actors electing legitimacy. The third respect increased dependency on Israel and the narrow cycle of external supporters, reinforcing influence rather than genuine sovereignty. So if we try to, moreover, the international reaction, we mentioned earlier the United States, which refused and disagree with the unilateral of Israeli steps.
Yes, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your valuable information, Dr. Monica William, researcher in international relations. Thank you very much.